I'm sorry for that. We had interruption of network from our side. Yes, Joel, you can see someone, we have Zephania who has joined us. So I said before I'll introduce you guys.
Yes.
So I'll ask him to introduce himself because he's one of the technical persons and he is the one in charge of pre-sales. So he'll introduce himself, then talk about what he covers, and then we resume.
Okay.
Josephania?
Hello.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Zephania.
You can.
Yeah, we can get you. Can you please talk up so that we proceed with the training?
Yeah, I'm saying I'm an engineer with Dahua Kenya. So I do pre-sales, product selection. So if you have solutions you need, on the guy you can talk to help you identify the specific Dahua products would fit the client's requirement or your requirement. Then also do technical support. So both remote and on-site. So if you're working with Dahua product and you have challenges, I can also provide support.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, maybe just to repeat what he has said, he's the one in charge of pre-sales.
Yes. Okay, Shelton, you can proceed.
Okay, so he's the one in charge of pre-sales. So if you need any product recommendation, product specification, in case you are doing projects, so the initial phase of a project when you want to start, you don't know which product to suggest to customer. He's the guy who can help you on the same.
No, that's good.
Yes. Okay, now to continue with the order of the day. So the other personnel in the group is someone from Bionic. It's called Fleury. So if I'm not wrong, he's the manager for Bionic group. So Bionic is located in Rwanda. And
not in Rwanda, in Burundi.
Oh, in Burundi. Sorry.
Yes, it's in Burundi.
Yes, and I think they deal with integration. So we are in the same, almost the same training category. We started with them yesterday. Sorry, the other day. So we have covered with them a brief introduction, knowledge of camera. And we were supposed to cover with them the introduction to recorder, but what we'll do, we are going to jump to basic knowledge of network interface for you, the two groups. And Fleury for Bionic, and the other, if Fleury can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So the other guy is called Joel. He's from Uganda, and he's from, they are integrator. So he was in a different group which started before you, and he's from Richcom Solutions Limited.
Okay.
It's I think later we can have one WhatsApp group for the same for advantage. You know, it's good to network at times. You don't know whether you might have a situation where you need to someone from another country. It's good to network and create that big network.
Yes.
Okay, now we can resume. So today we're going to cover basic knowledge of network interface cable, do a bit of knowledge of a network. And then with the Bionic group, I'm going to cover with you later recorder so that we are in the same page together so that we can have one training for all of us. And I'll create a good schedule for the timing so that I'll not be ambushing you each and every day. So as from next week, the training will be fixed and you will know which time the train is supposed to happen. Okay. So I begin by basic knowledge of network. So basic knowledge of network is more of more of networking information, just a booster. So it's just like you to have a basic foundation of the network so that you will be able to, if you're going to interact with our products, you have that good background knowledge of our network products. Sorry, I'm checking on my document so that we can. So can you see my screen? So I need to, I'm checking.
Yes, yes, I can see it.
Okay, so our slide today is basic knowledge of network, and you need to understand the basic networking concepts. So we're going to talk about information about switches. So most of the cases in Dahua we deal with switches, not routers, but we still produce routers. So we are going to dwell much on switches because most of the networks are usually local.
Yes.
So a network definition, I hope you understand by what a network definition is. It's just basically interconnection of computers to create a communication path. So advantages you need to know about to share resources in a computer system, to be able to do distribution for work, and information service and video conferencing etc. Because later we can talk about video conferencing products that Dahua offers. So we'll talk about those small projects or some of our specialized areas. So in a network, you need to understand terms like MAN, WAN, and LAN. So this information here is important for the certification because the scope for certification and examination, this one is covered, and you will be examined. So the lowest part of a network that you're going to handle is the LAN, where it comprises of switches. And a MAN, short for Metropolitan Area Network, so used to provide internet for cities, and WAN, which is the wide area network, we're dealing with the large scale or the wider internet.
Yes. Mr. Shelfer.
Yes.
Just for information, I'm on a network administrator.
So yeah, oh, nice, even better. So
yeah.
we can be going very fast, but you know.
Yeah, we can go very fast. If the other guy is okay with it.
So Joel, are you okay with this?
Yes, it's okay.
Are you aware with conversant with the network information or such?
Yeah, I have some knowledge about it.
Mhm. So maybe I'll just
Maybe we
rush
can.
because if you're it's okay if you just tell me you need to get more understanding on the same so that I cannot leave you behind.
No, you can just go through it very fast as we continue.
Okay. So different types of topologies. That is, if you want to implement networks, so you can use switches. So you can connect in star topology, ring topology, bus topologies, and mesh topology. So these are just like network cables connecting each device. So by the diagram, you can see how the topology looks like and the definition of it. You also need to be aware of OSI reference model. So, Mr. Fleury, I feel like Mr. Joel needs to understand this. If you feel like it's something that you understand very well, you can excuse yourself from the meeting, then we resume from the other part. Or maybe you can just be with us. So if you're okay.
For me, I'm okay with this. It's something I've been.
Okay, okay. So we resume. Joel, we're going to cover it. So the OSI reference model. So you also need to get to understand these models that for the examination purposes.
Yes.
So it's more like conceptual model. If you're going to design your network, you need to begin from the physical part, go to the MAC address. So I think you know information about MAC address.
Yes.
Yes, so
Yes.
the OSI model is just a theoretical model which help network admins in administering networks. So from the physical layer, which talks more of those cabling, the termination, etc. The MAC layer talks about the layer 2 communication, that is the MAC address. And the network layer, now you need to understand about IP addresses. Transport layer, you need to know about TCP, UDP, which communication works between two devices. So we're going to deal mostly with the network layer and transport layer, and a bit of physical layer. So TCP model is just like a OSI model, but it's just a scaled down version of the OSI model. So instead of having all these layers to describe your network, you're going to only have 4 layers, which summarizes all this information. So for example, if you're going to do configuration of your computer to access the internet, first you need to crimp a cable. The cable you're crimping, you're handling the physical layer. Then you need to move to the Ethernet card, that is use the MAC address, and set the IP address to the Ethernet card. So you're moving from this lower point to higher point.
Okay.
Also an Ethernet frame, which is used for this layer of communication. So an Ethernet layer, Ethernet frame, which is used at the layer 2 communication, that is the data link layer. So you need to know which type of information is passed. That is the frame, and you need to understand how the frame looks like. So as much as it's mentioned here, it's not that key while configuring our products, considering our products are easier to configure, and it's a rare scenario where you need to do you need to know this information to achieve basic configuration and surveillance. So a MAC address, this MAC address used in layer 2, the format. So this is just information that you can search in the internet, and I'll skip them. I'll be going very fast on them. So an IP introduction. So we're going to use most of our devices uses the IP information. So except for some devices like readers, we don't require IP address. Any other device that has interface with the network will require IP address. So IP address is used to identify a device in a network. And combination of IP address is network preface, subnet number, and host number. So if you're configuring device, there's that 192.168.1. By default, our device is 108. So 108.255 is the mask and gateway. So it's something that you can check later, and you can get easier, good information from the internet than this one. So maybe I'll go just through this very fast. I think you can for Joel you can go and search on the same for this, because there are even better videos that illustrate information about IP addresses and calculation of host quantity. So maybe you can be checking. So maybe something that you can we can talk about, which can help you in configuring DAFA products, is IP address setting. So in your computer, if it's good at times when you're configuring a product is for you to be in the same network. So if you plug an Ethernet cable into your computer, you need to set IP address statically. So how do you do that? You do that, you go into network adapter, you set the IP address for your computer and ensure that you don't have conflict in your network. Like, don't use the same IP address that is existing in the network. So some common commands that we are using in troubleshooting is ipconfig. That is, your configuration for your computer, the IP addresses that you are being given, etc. For pinging, so this command will help you to understand, especially if you're going to do cameras and you are facing some problem with whether the camera sometimes is going offline or there's some problems. You can use this command to know how the camera is responding. So a common terminology in a network is ARP. So ARP is used in the internet layer, and it's used to map your MAC address to your IP address, so that a switch can know which place to put the frame. So basic principles of switch. So a switch is used in network expansion and creating like the same way an extension would be used in power, switch is used in a network to create more access points. So learning methods of switch operation. We have different methods that the switch can operate for its frames. So there's learning and forwarding. So these terms here are some of the terms that you can interact with, or information that you can configure on our switches. We have manage switch. That is the switch that you need to configure such small information for it to achieve what you want to do. So learning and forwarding is something that you can just find later information in the internet, which has better information for you to understand than this. So this is a bit complex, but I think just an overview what you need to get to know. So it's good. You can go to the internet, we have better information on the same for this. So classifications of switch. So in this one is like a Cisco street architecture, where you're having switches, but you need to arrange them in such a scenario to provide maximum performance. So we have core layer switches, convergence layer, and access layer switches. So access layer switches are those small switches that connect to the end devices, like the cameras. Convergence switches are switches that connect to the access layer and the core layer. So they are a bit higher speed and higher performance compared to access layer. So as you go up, there is high performance, and you need to apply less security, or sorry, more of less packet filtering information as you go higher, so that information can go very fast to the core layer. So switches performance. So Ethernet port is used to connect a normal RJ45 cable. So Sfp port used to connect fiber. So an example of switches in this diagram here, Dahua switches, which has the Ethernet port, sorry. So these are the Ethernet ports. Later when we come, we'll come and check how do we name this switch and how do we know which ports are for which number of ports the switch has. So then we have Sfp ports. So these are fiber ports. So you need to use Sfp modules for you to connect to these fiber ports. We have a combo port. So a combo port is a gigabit Ethernet port that supports RJ45 connection and optimal industry small form of pluggable Sfp modules. So meaning, so a combo ports mean, yes, you can have, let me just zoom this on. So you can have a switch which has a fiber port and two uplink ports, that is the gigabit, this is the first port. So however, you can, if you decide to use this fiber port, this one will be rendered useless, meaning you can only use one port at a time. So I hope you understand by that. So if I decide to use this Ethernet port, I cannot use fiber as a separate port. So it's like one port, but different forms. That's the combo port. Some of the switches that we offer include, or some of the switches that Dahua has, include standard Giga Ethernet switch, which supports speed of up to 10 Mbps. We have fast Ethernet switches supporting to 100 Mbps. So most common switches nowadays that we produce are this 100 M Ethernet. However, the port can be rated 10/100 Mbps. And then we have gigabit and 10 gigabit switch. So all these models of switches that we have as Dahua. So switch performance. Also, these are just some of the information that you can get better from the internet. So you can get good information for this on the internet. We'll just skip them. So some common features of switches that you need to know. So I'll talk about PoE. So PoE is more like sending power from the switches to the endpoint devices and not using the power side. So like cameras, you can connect to a switch and it will be powered at the same time sending information. So maybe common terms for examination purposes is PSC and PD. What is a PSC? So PSC is a device that creates a power, e.g. switches. A powered device or PD is a device that receives the power. So you can have an access point, an IP camera, or IP phone, or even a wireless device. So some of the PoE standards, we have PoE Plus. So their IEEE rating is as indicated. So PoE is 802.3 AF, and PoE Plus is 802.380. So PoE Plus can be taken as this enhanced standard of PoE, like you have more power and distance transmission over Ethernet. And the output for the PoE Plus can come to 30 watts, which is twice the same as that of PoE. And then we have this standard, high PoE. So high PoE is a proprietary standard for power over Ethernet, and it's Dahua's, and it improves the maximum power output. Unlike for PoE Plus, which has 30 watts, this one our standard has 60 watts, which help us even to to create transmitting power over Ethernet to a distance of 250 meters to 800 meters. So you can see EPOE, we have EPOE technology. So EPOE is that for the Dahua technology, and can achieve 800 meters at 10 Mbps, or you can reach 300 meters at 100 Mbps via network or coaxial cable. VLANs, this is information also you can get better from the internet. So you can go look on the side for VLAN, what is the STP is. So all these functions that I'm talking about are some of the functions that we achieve as a company, because our switches are standard. So let me just talk about link aggregation. So link aggregation is important because you will interact with the link aggregation with some of devices like our NVR series 5, some of the 5 series NVR, some of the 6 series NVR, even switches and IVSS, even DSS products. So link aggregation is just combining different ports to become one, so that you can achieve high speed and high reliability than single link. So just like bundling different links to get one big link. Yes. Even you can see you can reach speeds of up to 8 Gbps. So these are some of the information that you can check later on the internet, because it's just a common term. Let me just talk of quality of service, because it's something that you can use to improve your surveillance in recorders and switches. So quality of service means prioritizing different kinds of traffic. So like in case for a telco company, like those telco company that deal with mobile phones, so their priority would be having fluent voice. So they might decide they are prioritizing on the voice. The voice data will be prioritized compared to data service. So basically, QoC is just putting a priority of traffic, putting priority to different packets compared to others. Maybe you can do search on the same letter. So also this port mirroring for security purposes, you can check on this later. Some of the common routing. Okay, now we cover requirements for video. Some of the topics that I've skipped are just like common information that can be found on the internet, so you can later be checking on them. So video surveillance switch application. So you can use our switches in cameras. You can use them in. So basically, interconnecting devices in a surveillance network. So when we are talking about cameras that in our cameras, we talk about different frames. So characteristics of these are information that we already covered in our previous training.
Yes.
Yes. So maybe this is just an important information that will help you in implementation. So it's good for you when you are having your switches in your network to reserve at least 50% bandwidth of the switch. For example, if you are having a switch that can do 100 Mbps port, you can reserve at least 50 Mbps. For 1000 Mbps, you can reserve 500 Mbps at least. So like if the switch is rated 100 AM per port, don't use that capacity for maybe uplink. You don't use that for uplink. Just reserve 50%. Considering cases like you have a scenario where the camera will at times will send large streams of information. So you need to be able to accommodate that. So maybe what you need to know is about MAC address and IP address. How does the switch do landing and forwarding? So you understand the terminology. So those information that I skipped, you can check on them. Okay, so we take a small break, like 7 minutes. We come back at 20 minutes. Sorry, not 20 minutes, but 15 minutes past. So past your local time, 15 minutes past that, you rejoin the link so that we can resume with the other part of the training. That is the interface and the cables that we provide as DAHUA. Then I think we'll call it a day. So just take a small break, then we'll be back.
Right.